Do you hate Mondays? The Florida Panthers certainly don't, and they put up an 8 spot again, and this time it was even more impressive.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, November 25th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network. I'm Armando Velez, the host of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and joining me on today's edition of the show, he is from the podcast that sometimes talks about Panthers hockey, but sometimes they don't, Jacob Langsam, here to break down this 8-3 win for the Florida Panthers over the Nashville Predators. Shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. And grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show. And Jacob, wow. A second consecutive Monday that the Florida Panthers put up an 8 spot for themselves. And it's crazy the rhythm that of the Panthers schedule, 3 consecutive Mondays and no Tuesday games as far as like this November schedule. It's usually this way around Thanksgiving, but the Panthers, I mean, putting up 8 against Nashville and scoring 11 seconds in, and although they had a 2-goal lead, the Predators score quickly, but then the Panthers, that momentum just continued, and for them here in this game. And my takeaway for this game was the fact that the Panthers were just able to flat out skate the Nashville Predators, faster on shoot-ins, faster as far as like the players off puck as well. And then just the fact that, and you see it in the example as well, as getting in transition and getting caught in changes on one on a 4-on-4, and then one on the Jesper Bokus breakaway where Gustav Forsling was able to get him in stride. That is my biggest takeaway of this game.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the Panthers finally giving Daniil Tarasov some goal support as well. Yes. I know we'll get to that later as well, but I was really impressed tonight with the Panthers' ability to kind of bounce back from their own mistakes, the few that they did make. Coming out swinging with the 2 goals early, Predators able to tie it. It's seeming like, is there going to be some really annoying collapse here? But the Panthers were able to ride the storm that they weathered for themselves a little bit. Tarasov came up huge in a lot of ways, as he so often has this season. Panthers put up 8 goals. Jusse Saros doesn't finish the game, and it's good to be a Panthers fan. Good to be in front of Daniil Tarasov right now,
no doubt. And for the Panthers, chasing Jusse Saros at 1:24 of the second period, and then Justus Annunen gives up 3 more goals after that. All 3 of them coming in the third period, as the Predators had an opportunity to, after scoring quickly on the power play, to make it 5-3, and still the Panthers didn't panic by scoring 3 consecutive after that, which is once again shows the actual maturity in this group. And to think that those first 2 goals that Nashville scores, Evangelista is just throwing it off from the corner, and a little bit of a battle between Philip Forsberg and Nico Mikkola, and it just deflects in on the short side, and then Aaron Ekblad, an errant pass that deflects in around Tarasov's net, and then Sveshkov. I have to try not to say Sveshnikov from the Carolina Hurricanes. Sveshkov, he scores on that one to tie at 2. But again, it was a matter of trading chances. It was crazy because you think about the goals that were scored. Some of them were scored exactly the same, with AJ Greer being set up by Carter Verhaeghe when the puck was at the end boards, and then him being set up, and also Carter Verhaeghe being set up as well. His was more on the breakaway, but another opportunity that Carter Verhaeghe had with AJ Greer from the half wall, as well as Greer was trailing. It was another type of goal in that way. But then the Reinhart and Erod line as well, they traded opportunities with the goaltender being above his crease and a juicy rebound and knocking it into an open net. One of them was with Saros, the other one was with Annunen. So a lot of those goals kind of fell into like the same script.
Yeah, and the Panthers game, it's that heavy forecheck, it's rush chances, and they really capitalized on a lot of that traditional Florida Panthers Paul Maurice offense. Not a ton of zone time. The Panthers actually found themselves on the wrong end of the shot attempts battle, but you're getting those high octane rush chances. You're not really cycling a lot tonight. You don't see a lot of Royal Road cross crease passes. It was a lot of just quick, heavy, get in there, get one by Saros, get one by Anunen, and come home with the win. I mean, it was Florida Panthers hockey to a T, almost too much to a T, with Andrew Brunette on the other bench, because it was almost akin to the style that Brunette was really pushing before Maurice came in.
Yeah, no doubt, and especially with how impressive that the battle was, where Sam Reinhart and Evan Rodriguez were behind the net, allowing the puck to get to Uvis Balinskis, and then being able to get above the goal line as well. And the thing for the Panthers has been, as much as they have been a very possession heavy team, they have also missed the net a lot, and I know that can also sometimes be a benefit for the Panthers as far as their ability to go and battle on the boards even when they do miss shots. But the fact that they had the Predators so spread out the way they did, it didn't allow them the opportunity to clear the net front as well in a game like this. And just Jusse Saros, I mean, you can't necessarily put all the blame on him. I mean, especially that Forsling shot from the point where Mackie Samoskevich rims it around, and then Anton Lundell is in the middle of the slot where that one goes through, which, by the way, that's the first goal by a defenseman at 5-on-5 this season. Gustav Forsling first of the season. Yeah, that's the first 5-on-5 goal by a defenseman this season. Seth Jones has 3 power play goals. Aaron Ekblad has 1. So the first one. And the fact is, the Panthers were it was crazy, because you think about the tone set by the Bennett line as far as getting the forecheck on. I mean, AJ Greer having a 3-point night. Sam Bennett, although he did get a goal, he did get the fourth goal of the game. Although the stats will say only 2 shots on goal, he was a great force as far as like driving up the middle of the ice.
Yeah, it was really nice to see Bennett crash the net. A skill that he has become very important to the Panthers for having. That we haven't really seen a lot of this season, which, a little bit of leading to his deflated goal tally, if you want to put it that way. Anyone is going to struggle putting the puck in the back of the net when they get Matthew Tkachuk taken off their line. But yeah, seeing Bennett just charge straight at that Nashville net during a rush chance, picking up the rebound and just putting it in. That's the Sam Bennett that we saw in the playoffs for the last 2 years. That's the Sam Bennett that has won 2 Stanley Cups and a Conn Smythe. Great to see him get back on the board.
No doubt, and that was off a give and go by Seth Jones. But the fact that the puck touched Svechkov's stick quickly, that's why that goal ended up being unassisted on that one. But I mean, look, I know you're a big fan of PDO, and I know Panther Pourri is really deeper into the analytics than what we do here. But the Panthers' average PDO in the season is 0.98. Tonight,
not good. Yeah.
Tonight it was a 1.24. A little bit of an outlier, obviously, when you score 8 goals and then the opposition has 39 shots. But I mean, hey, this is a second consecutive week that the Panthers are able to just score in bunches. And the most impressive thing about this, none of their goals came on the power play. Brad Marchand, who had scored at a 59-goal pace 19 games through the season, is currently on a 3-game goal drought. The fact that Marchand hasn't had to carry the load for the Panthers. Sam Reinhart is still hot.
Reinhart.
And Sam Reinhart, he was stuck on 1 assist through 16 games. And in the last 6 games, he has 7 assists there. So he's starting to pick up as far as playmaking as well, and also once again getting a goal on the night.
You had to do that to me now.
For those listening on audio, I did the 6-7. Yeah, unapologetically.
That's been a fun bit that Armando's been doing on Twitter all season. For those of you who haven't caught on to that, I have taken my own issue with it in your mentions. But more lately, you got to respect the commitment to the bit. I'm fueling that fire now. I'm all about it.
Yeah, so once again, just overall great performances for the Panthers, and just the fact that it was multiple guys getting in and just a contribution up and down. I mean, the only really low spots in the lineup were just 2 tripping penalties by Jeff Petrie on the night, and Brad Marchand not really doing much offensively for the Panthers, but still the Panthers still find a way to win. And you mentioned Daniil Tarasov. Six goals that the Panthers have gotten him in support in his first 4 starts, and then 14 in his last 2. So this is the support that Daniil Tarasov has been looking for. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we are going to discuss our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we knew the game was won. We'll discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday. Armando Velez here with Jacob Langsam of Panther Pourri here joining me to recap this 8-3 win for the Florida Panthers over the Nashville Predators on the road. And I based on how I started my show, I also want to give a shout out to a barbecue restaurant in West Kendall, Florida, my hometown. That's called Hate Mondays. So the Florida Panthers don't hate Mondays. They score 8 goals in 2 consecutive weeks. So it was an inspiration from my home region in Miami-Dade County. Check it out if you have not been there. But it's a Florida Panthers win, which means we are going to discuss our 3 stars of the game and the moment where we knew the game was won. So number 3 star for me is going to be Sam Reinhart getting 3 points on the night, 2 secondary assists and a goal for the Panthers here. Once again, we spoke about in segment number 1 how forcing the goaltender to play above the crease and knocking into the open net. Sam Reinhart was definitely, especially a force in one of the goals, the first Rodriguez goal in the breakout, and he was key on that one for getting the puck out of the zone. Number 2 star, Carter Verhaeghe. Those setups especially on the first one, and then also breaking a 13-game goal drought. He had not scored since October 21st after that big clutch goal against the Boston Bruins to at least win in regulation. Another regulation win for the Panthers, which makes 11 on the season, by the way. So number 2 star, and then number 1.
Who else?
AJ Greer, 2 goals, ties a career high. He's a +5. And on one of the goals, actually, he was on the ice for only 1 second, which also says how plus-minus once again isn't the be-all, end-all stat. But hey, you take it if you're AJ Greer to up your plus-minus there. So, and the fact that he's playing up on a line and also picking up that line, as I know Sam Bennett is used to playing with Carter Verhaeghe at times when sometimes they do that switch between Erod and Verhaeghe between the Barkov and Bennett lines when they are healthy, but Erod not giving that line a little bit of life. So your 3 stars, my friend.
I'm sorry that this is going to be a little bit of a repetitive segment. I do have a little bit of a flip to make. I'm going to put Verhaeghe in that 3 spot for getting back on the board. He did have those 2 assists as well for a 3-point night. Carter Verhaeghe turning himself into a bit of a playmaker this season. Not like he's not getting on the board at all. He's just, we're used to seeing him put the puck in the back of the net. Instead, he's putting the puck on the tape of the people putting it in the back of the net. So Carter Verhaeghe is my 3rd star. I wasn't thrilled with some of his possession metrics in this game. He did get a little caved at 5-on-5, so I've got to take points off for that. That's the Panther Pourri way. Second, I'm going to go Sam Reinhart for yet another 3-point night. He gets another goal in lieu of Brad Marchand because apparently only one of them can be scoring at a time, and was one of the only Panthers to be on the positive side of the shot attempt share for this game. So between the two players with 3 points, I've got to rank the one that had a positive Corsi for percentage above the one that didn't. So that's the swap that I'm going to make relative to yours. And third, or I guess first, quick honorable mention to Tarasov because I've got to shout him out as much as possible. He did let in the one bad goal that we've seen him let in, but which is why he's not one of my 3 stars. But other than that, he did have a phenomenal game, another phenomenal start. First star, who else? It's got to be AJ Greer. What a night for the kid. Could have had a 4th point. I think it's a little criminal that he didn't get a second assist rather. He does have the 2 goals, the 1 assist, ties a career high for goals in a season. It's game 22. Kachuk's coming back for another few weeks at least. He's going to keep getting those minutes with Bennett and Verhaeghe in the top 6. So we will see AJ Greer set a new career high. I would argue before the new year.
Yeah, that's a good bet to have with at least this is the last week of November and then a full month of December. By the way, Carter Verhaeghe scored his 300th point as a Florida Panther tonight. So that's one thing. Sam Reinhart also had a strange deflection that was a double deflection off the crossbar and off the post as well.
He should have had another goal tonight.
But then looking at that replay, it's like, okay, that's not below the goal line. So damn it, you just wish that he could have earned that one. But just putting himself positionally in a great place to at least not have the goalie put himself in a position to make a save. So continuing to be a force and looking at some of the goals for the Panthers. And like I mentioned in segment number 1, the defenseman not having a 5-on-5 goal until tonight, but then you see Jones on a secondary assist, which Belinskis on one. He also had a primary assist in the last game. Gustav Forsling, and then although the stats accounting isn't necessarily high as far as the goals, what they're doing as far as like activating, especially when they're coming up in the play. I mean, that is once again when you look at it from an eye test perspective. Yeah. I'm highly impressed by what this team is doing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hate it. Just if we're gonna go goal by goal, just take that first goal that the Panthers scored, AJ Greer's first 11 seconds into the game. I mean, you got a face-off win. You've got an east-west pass, defenseman to defenseman. Jones rings it around. Verhaeghe comes in to grab it deep, just sends it right in front of the net, and Greer finishes. It was such a bang-bang goal where 4 of the 5 Panthers on the ice got a touch to the puck. You're not going to find a much more efficient scoring setup than that, and that just felt like how the Panthers were going all night.
No doubt. And that's the 3rd fastest goal in franchise history, just off of 1 second, which the tied for first is at 10 seconds. One of them was actually Alexander Barkov in 2016. So he was one of those guys who's tied for the record for fastest goal to start a hockey game. But the moment where we knew the game was won, for me, I considered the fact of where the Nashville Predators are based on their roster construction, the rumors about possibly Andrew Brunette being let go, which you got to wonder if this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. But once it was 4-2, and looking at the fact that Nashville scores 2.29 goals per game, which is last in the NHL, and although the Panthers aren't the track meet style of game, which is and run and gun style anymore, the moment where I saw 4, I'm like, if you're trying to do a high scoring affair with the Florida Panthers, you're not going to win this with Nashville, with Nashville being on the other end. If this is Colorado, probably a different story.
Yeah.
But the fourth goal, which Sam Bennett scored off that turnover around the net, that was my moment. How about you?
This may seem a little disingenuous, but I've got to go with goal number 2.
Really?
That Evan Rodriguez cleanup in front of the net. Panthers go up 2-0 like 5 minutes into the game, 6 minutes into the game.
5:42.
That was kind of when I was like, all right, yeah, Nashville might get one, might get two. And of course they did end up tying the game at 2 in pretty short order, to be honest. But once Roddy put that rebound in, put the Panthers up 2-0. It wasn't a coast, but I was pretty confident that, the Panthers were coming out of this one with a win.
Fair enough. And that's 11 wins in their last 14, by the way, in Nashville. It's funny because there was once time an 8-goal game that the Nashville Predators had against the Panthers in one of those losses, and you hear the Predator roar after every goal. And I remember just hearing it 8 times. I'm not going to impersonate it on the podcast, but but that just reminded me every time they do the trip to Nashville that happens whenever they do play a game there. It's crazy because this time last year in the home game that they played against Nashville, that game ended pretty early. It was 3-0 lead in the first period. And that was the moment in the season where the Panthers were coming off the global series and they were coming into every game wearing the bathrobes as well. Right. So that was that part of the season last year when that was going on. And that was where a lot of noise was going on even that early. And it's more than 365 days later, and it's still the same noise around the team. And our friend Florida Panthers historian Francisco Porta posted a tweet saying the Nashville Predators are trying to build a roster with older veterans. Trust me, the Florida Panthers tried that in the mid-2000s and it didn't work. So, if anyone understands, it's Florida Panthers fans who definitely have experienced that era. I didn't experience it until the 2010s, but looking back at history, you kind of see how you could kind of learn lessons from that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to go that far back to the mid-2000s, early 2000s to see a vet-heavy Panthers team. I mean, you can look at the 2016 team. You had Captain Willie Mitchell.
Jaromir Jagr.
You have Jaromir Jagr on that team.
Scotty Opshaw.
You acquire Jakob Kindl and Teddy Purcell and Yuri Hudler. Deadline. None of them were spring chickens when the Panthers grabbed them. The next season you go out, you get, a sub 30 Keith Yandel, but he aged pretty quick. A couple years later, you're also adding Dan Boyle to your team. You're adding Mike Hoffman to your team. I mean, the Panthers, you do not have to go that far back to see a Panthers team that tried to build around some vets. In addition to Barkov, Huberdeau, and Ekblad, you always had that core of not so young anymore, but back then they were still 25, 26 years old. But you really don't have to go back 20 years to find examples of the Panthers trying to build around vets and failing.
Do you remember who scored the first goal in that Islanders series? Do you remember?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm going to take a guess and say it was Jussi Jokinen.
It was Teddy Purcell.
It was Purcell, yeah.
It was Purcell. So that's who it was.
But Jussi Jokinen also not exactly a spring chicken when the Panthers had a whole line built around him.
Yes. And I remember Dmitry Kulikov got an empty net goal in game 2 where the Panthers won at home that season. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where the Team USA has put a little bit of a tease of their sweaters for Milano Cortina in 2026. And we're also going to discuss the upcoming game against the Philadelphia Flyers, who will be making their trip to Sunrise. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And the hockey season's officially here, and there's nothing that beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated, and when all you want to do is cheer for your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack, scoring amazing NHL tickets fast and stress-free. Their zone deals are game changers. When you pick the section, Game Time picks your seat and you save big. You can even find tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday, coming off a Florida Panthers 8-3 win over the Nashville Predators. And the Panthers are going to be home for the next 6 games. It feels so beautiful after a big win. But Team USA on Monday put out a little bit of a teaser saying that they are going to be announcing their jerseys for Milano Cortina in 2026, and it's actually going to be announced on the Today Show. Actually, so what an announcement that the whole world is going to see. Actually, France actually also announced their jerseys. So we've seen Germany recently, we've seen Canada, we've seen Finland as well. But Jacob, as an American myself, and you as well, how excited are you for this announcement?
I'm really, really pumped to see what these jerseys look like. The USA always puts out some very, very pretty jerseys. You know, I was even in the minority of people who liked, I think it was the 2020, it was probably the 22 Olympics, might have been 18. I think it was 22 though, with kind of that like winged, feathery look. I really like that jersey. A lot of people didn't. I think Team USA has a very strong track record as far as the red, white, and blue on the sweater goes. So I'm very excited to see what these jerseys look like, and even more excited to break out the credit card and grab one of them for myself.
No doubt. And the thing is, I still have yet to buy my Winter Classic jersey. As if you're not watching this on audio, I'm going to full screen Jacob real quick. He is actually wearing his Winter Classic Brad Marchand Winter Classic jersey. So I'm going to be getting mine in the next couple of weeks. And then, I'm going to be also trying to get my Team USA jersey as well for Milano Cortina. So yeah, I might be broke in the next couple of months, but I think it's going to be worth it. But any concerns about Team USA, by the way, with Charlie McAvoy currently out with the taking the shot to the face, Jack Hughes with the cut in his hand that he needed surgery. Now Connor Hellebuck had arthroscopic surgery. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Now Eric Comrie is going to have the majority of the starts for Winnipeg. Any concerns for Team USA?
When you see stars like that go down so in such quick succession, there's always a little bit of concern. But Matthew Tkachuk's coming back. He should be ready to go for the Olympics. He should be ready to go for the Winter Classic. Jack Hughes, I believe, is slated to be available for the Olympics. He'll miss a lot of the training beforehand. But it's funny that it's kind of funny that you mentioned Charlie McAvoy, Connor Hellebuck. I think Quinn Hughes also is dealing with a little something on and off throughout this season. But the Team USA's strength right now is their defense and their goaltending. So this is going to be a next man up. I mean, let's just assume that Quinn Hughes is available. Yeah, you don't have McAvoy to stand next to him because what a pairing Hughes McAvoy would be. But you've still got Adam Fox. You've still got Jacob Slavin. You still got Brett Pesce, I believe, is American as well.
Yep.
That old Hurricanes pair before Pesce went up to the Devils. Although I believe he's injured right now too. The USA has a very strong defensive core. Jake Sanderson even has made a real
stud.
He was real good at Four Nations last year. And you know that we don't say nice things about the Senators lightly. Goaltending, I think, is going to be even more fun for Team USA, even without reigning Vezina winner Connor Hellebuck
and Hart Trophy
Spencer Knight.
Yes,
remember the name, friends.
He leads the league in goal save above expected right now.
Yes, he does. Spencer Knight is going to make a real case to be Team USA's starting goalie in the Olympics.
Yeah,
and barring that, you've still got Jake Ottinger. You've still got Jeremy Swayman. The USA is not starved for great goalies for Milan Cortina.
No doubt. So the Panthers will be returning home, and they will be finishing off their their series against the Philadelphia Flyers. So already at the end of November, it's going to be wrapping up the series. We may not have a show tomorrow, as I will be traveling tomorrow. But just looking at the homestand, the fact that the Panthers are going to be back home, they've been home heavy, but they've been pretty good at home as well. The Philadelphia Flyers have been more of a home heavy schedule themselves. They're 3-4-1 on the road this season, while the Florida Panthers are 8-3-1. So, and then you look at the rest of the schedule for the Panthers. I mean, you see a whole bunch of teams that weren't playoff teams last year, although it's whole bunched up in the East right now. Toronto's not playing so well. They're going to see Nashville again, and then at the end you have a playoff hopeful in Columbus, who made a big run last year, and then an exciting Islanders team. I said that last week for the Isles, the vibes are good there.
They are.
So I'm very excited to see Matthew Schaefer play towards the end of this homestand. So what are your thoughts on just the opportunity? I think this is an outstanding opportunity for the Panthers here.
Yeah, the Panthers still a little shy of a playoff spot right now. This nice long homestand is a great chance to bank some points and find yourself back in the hunt. Especially, Philadelphia is coming to town. They just got blanked by the Lightning, so they're going to be coming out angry. Philly and Florida tied with 25 points in the standings. Philly with a game in hand. Difference being, when you kind of dive into each team's performance a little deeper, Philly's kind of a bottom half team. They're not so below average in a lot of your traditional predictive metrics, Corsi 4, Fenwick 4, expected goals percentage. They are in that bottom half, whereas the Panthers are a little higher up. And as you mentioned earlier, PDO, the Panthers have had a very poor PDO this season. It's starting to bring itself back up. That's why we always talk about that regression, shooting percentage and save percentage regression, especially. With the Panthers PDO starting to regulate itself, you're almost looking at Matthew Tkachuk's return. That may happen before the end of the year. We've kind of been insinuated to. So I think you would be hard pressed to convince me that the Panthers won't be in a playoff spot by the end of the year.
No doubt. And the line that actually has performed well against the Panthers, which was the third line of Noah Cates, Tyson Forster, they're actually up a spot now in the lineup as well. So Trevor Zegras is actually down in the lineup more, as according to Daily Faceoff. He had a beautiful assist in that road game, and that was actually Daniil Tarasov's first start of the season, where the Panthers just couldn't get goal support right there. Samuel Ersson started tonight in Tampa, and neither team got more than 20 shots. I don't believe, if I double check again. So coming off a shutout and playing a low event game between the two, so it's gonna be a tough challenge, as Philly has a lot more energy again and fresh start from a guy like Trevor Zegras. But I did see a stat of Rick Tocchet coach teams, and some of them is based on situation. He's been 27th or worse in shots against in his time of coaching in the NHL. And I know Arizona wasn't the best as far as like them not spending money. Vancouver, it's a rippling effect from the Jim Benning, Travis Green years, and then transitioning that from Rutherford, Bruce Boudreau after that, and it just hasn't had any stability. So, but at the same time, if it's consecutive places that you're 27th or below in shots against, ouch.
Right. And excuse me, though, these are teams that, you say the Tocchet Coyotes weren't so great, and realistically, no, they weren't. But all of a sudden, the Utah Mammoth, pretty fun team. That roster is not super different from the Tocchet Coyotes. You've still got a lot of the main players there. Clayton Keller, for some reason, he's the only one coming to mind immediately. But that's
Dylan Gunther as well, Logan Cooley. So, but they've also added guys like Stanley Cup champion Nate Schmidt, Mikhail Sergachev from the Lightning as well. Brandon Tanev, JJ Peterka in trades in recent years, so a little bit of a different, and Kevin Stenlund. Let's not forget.
I was going to say Kevin Stenlund, but then in my mind I was like, or is he Seattle? But no, Seattle's the other team that Marchment.
It's the colors,
exactly. But no, those Tocchet Coyotes teams weren't so poorly constructed. They were just poorly coached
and young.
and young and very young. You also did have OEL on those teams before he started his journey across the NHL.
Nick Bjugstad,
Vancouver too. You know, the talk at teams where he's finishing so low in shots against, these aren't bad defensive teams inherently. So there's something there. You're onto something there.
Yeah. So we'll see if the Panthers can pressure the Flyers into their own end. I'm expecting Dan Vladar to make the start again, as he made the first two. Sergei Bobrovsky likely to be back in the net for the Panthers there, and we'll discuss later this week if Daniil Tarasov should be back in the cage on Friday, and maybe give Sergei Bobrovsky a little bit of a rest as maybe these years of going through Stanley Cup runs, maybe this is the time to give him more of those starts. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. An 8-3 win for the Cats over the Predators. Tell everybody where they can follow you online and your podcast.
You can follow me on Twitter at PTPJacob or at Panther Pourri, though that account is more commonly used by my co-host Alex Lopez, TJ Peterson. I'm not really on I'm not super active on any other socials, so that's really it for me. Just those two Twitter accounts.
Yeah, and follow Panther Pourri anywhere you listen to podcasts, and the more unfiltered version of Panthers talk, but with lots of comedy. Like I said at the beginning, sometimes they talk about hockey, sometimes they don't, and lots of Pokemon talk as well. You'll get that mixed in. So a very entertaining show, I will say. So go check that out, Panther fans. So Jacob, thank you as always, and I will see you again very soon. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Langsam. And you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.